Hello. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, fine, thank you. And Larry is a landscape artist, and I have seen quite a few his remarkable landscape paintings. And what initiated you to paint landscape? Maybe you can say your name, full name first.
Oh, I'm Larry Szycher, and actually, when I go back to when I was trained as a student, I actually worked more with a figure.
Oh, really?
But gradually, I drifted into landscape. I think primarily because of the color, especially with light and color and working outdoors. I really like doing that. And so I remember starting a series of oil on paper and just working outdoors every day, just, very inexpensive to just paint and paint and paint on the paper. Yeah. And
so
just
you put the easel and
right outside. I have a little portable easel, and I bring a bunch of paper, watercolor paper.
How old were you?
Probably in my 20s. Yeah, 20s, late 20s maybe.
Yeah.
And it was right out of art school, and I stopped drawing for a while because I wanted to concentrate on color shapes rather than line.
Yeah.
And so I thought the easiest way to do that would be to go right out in the landscape and then just work with shapes and color, and not worry about contour so much, not worry about any kind of contour line. And then gradually I just really just felt very comfortable in the landscape, and I just stayed with it.
Yeah.
And then
you've been working on landscape how many years?
Since about 1970, 1975. Yeah. I was trained with the figure more, though, and where I teach at Caldwell University. I actually teach all the figure classes. And all my students always say, "Can I take a landscape class with you?" So once in a while I do get a student that wants to work outdoors. But
I always sense landscapers, they can draw landscape as they see it, but to make the landscape as more live landscape, very important to know how far you're reaching out in the sky and then front. And you are marvelous to make the distance away or sky, and that's where your strength, besides brush strokes and everything, is so alive. Look at this one, very alive, as if we are right there seeing the real things in this season. You captured the atmosphere beautifully. That's the point about, to me, is a landscape.
Yeah, I think that's important. When I work outside with the sketches, it's about really the visceral quality and the real physicality of the location. Right. But it comes from the color and the paint. It doesn't come from the sight.
No.
So that's what I try to do with my sketches, and then when I bring them into the studio, that's the struggle, is to really keep that freshness and keep that light and liveliness that I have in the sketches.
Do you take photographs?
No, I work from oil sketches, oil on paper.
Really?
And sometimes I use a photograph if I have to recall certain details. For example, in that painting, how many windows might be on a building, something I can't get in an outdoor sketch very quickly.
That's true.
But for the design and the color and the volume, I like working right on the spot, even if it's with a little sketch through the car window. There's something about being on location that really attaches you to the whole sense of the design.
Well, that's what I feel it. You captured that moment. You can tell about what time you are there, because you can create that wonderful atmosphere, even though you just scratch it very quickly. Scratch is not the right word, but scribble.
Yeah, marks.
But really, energy is there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the painters that I really like is Corot. And when I look at his oil sketches that he did in Italy when he spent a number of years in Italy painting right in the landscape. He has these beautiful, lively sketches.
Yeah.
And then you look at some of the paintings that he produced from them, and sometimes they get really flat. I'm thinking of the bridge at Narni, for one. That's oil sketch is fantastic, and then the oil painting that's in Ottawa. It doesn't have that life. So that's what I try.
It's very difficult for many people to deal with oil. Something to do with oil medium, they can do drawing marvelously. But when it comes to mixing colors or translucence, sometimes they fail. They become so muddy. And does not feel alive, atmosphere. Now, you have been with us as a member of the Bar Salon. How long ago did you become a member? 4 or 5 years ago?
I think 2012 might have been the first time I showed here.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems more than that. Maybe 12.
Maybe.
3 years ago. Really?
Yeah, maybe more. I was invited, my student, Julie, told me about the exhibition space, which is beautiful. I love this space. And then I became a member, and I've been showing with you ever since.
That's right. Loyal friend of Bar Salon. I appreciate it. And besides, we don't have too many landscapers.
No,
now, today,
there's a few.
We used to have one more, and this time she's not. Well, it's not. There's another one there too. But landscaper, in terms of depicting the realistic,
representation,
photographic one, you're the only one. Many people can do abstractions, but the way you renders, even that is. I just feel that I am there experiencing that airfield.
Yeah, I think that's in the design. I think you, as an artist, you try to design your space so that you make the viewer kind of have a relationship with that space, so that they know their place in it.
Yes.
They know where they are in the landscape or in the painting. And I think that's all about the design.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And then that is a sensitivity that you carry right there. If you lack sensitivity, there's only the more of just abstract, expressionistic way, surface, but you carry, feel it, and then that's part of landscapers or any good artist, even though abstract.
Right.
Yeah.
And this piece here that you're looking at now was painted up in Truro, Massachusetts. That's up on Cape Cod. I lived there for a number of years and spent about 30 or more summers there, painting the light and the color, especially the color of the Cape. And this is an area called Mill Pond, which is kind of like a tidal zone. So it changes. The tide goes in, tide goes out. It's full of water, and then it's just marsh, mud. And I painted many times over this scene, different times of the day, different times of the tide, and I like the way the temporal quality of the changes. Just every 15 or 20 minutes, it's a new painting. And mostly I work right out in the landscape with oil sketches, and then I bring them into the studio where I get to reflect on them and kind of bring a sense of maybe what attracted me to this spot in the first place, a more personal kind of vision of why I'm always looking at this place. And then kind of unite that with the spontaneity of the sketch and the freshness of the sketch and the color of the sketch, trying to keep that looseness, but also make it something that maybe is a little more monumental, a little more permanent, which is it's kind of hard when you're dealing with the flux and the flow of the water, but that's kind of what I was trying to do here.
Is water difficult?
There was a painter up the Cape called Wa, and he had this famous quote about water, and something about you have to learn how to slay your dragons in the water. And I could never figure out what this was. And then Paul Resica, who kind of was the one who said the quote. I bumped into him one day and I said, "What exactly did that mean?" And he said, "Oh, it just means that you just can't be afraid of painting the water. You just have to go for it." So I think that's true with anything. You just, you follow your instinct and the color and the form, and it doesn't matter really if you're painting water or whatever. They're all empirical forms that you can kind of play with color. And I think the big thing is not think of water, but think of color, think of shape and form. And so that's what I try to do. So anyway, finding out about the quote was kind of a letdown, but I thought it would be something mystical that would, inspire me, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I guess that's true with painting. It's just hard work.
Reality is always more detailed and full, and it changes, and every second is different. And what do you feel like you get?
I've always been attracted to representational images. I mean, it's an impulse. I really love abstract work. I love Rothko's work, de Kooning's work. But when I paint, I'm just attracted to the representational forms, and I love the way paint can become something else, can become this representational form, but still remain paint. So I think underneath my work, there always is that sense of abstraction that really is in the design and in the color and in the form, but it just winds up being representational, I think, just because it's just intuitively the way I work and the way I just feel really inspired by the natural world.
I am going to interview with Richard Hatter, and he's a photographer. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I paint too.
That's right. And I haven't seen paintings actually. You always bring photographs, or not? Have I seen it?
Yes.
Oh my.
Many, many years ago.
Oh yes, before you escape
Singular
from
obsessions.
That's before you escape with some reason, and then you came back
yes,
because you
that's
missed,
exactly
you
right.
Missed,
that's
you
exactly right.
Missed the Westring.
I vacillated
I was
back
so
and forth
happy,
between
right?
paintings and photos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, what medium do you like, Richard? You were a painter before.
Well, right now I'm focusing on photographs because of the immediacy of photographs. My work focuses on a variety of different themes, including the Great American Southwest, American cultures, cultural festivals, carnivals, the Jersey Shore travel scenes, amusement parks, and these are just a few. And I use color and design concepts to address everyday images that many times appear as photographic paintings in the eyes of both the photographer and the viewer. So the work's heavily influenced by the environment, by global changes, cultural symbols, urban life, visual characterizations of rapidly advancing technologies. I've done photography with electron microscopy and so forth. But this piece is sea lights in fog, and it was taken at the Jersey Shore. There were some red lights, and
Where was it?
It was in late August. It was a foggy night at the shore, a foggy summer night in Asbury Park on the boardwalk. And I just took the photo and then abstracted it and printed it on white aluminum with a glossy finish.
Yeah, closer to that. So please tell us a technique that you applied. First you did photograph.
First I took the photograph, and then of course it was a digital image, and then I worked on the digital image to get it to the point that I liked in the resolution and the edges and the color, the saturation and the contrast, and then I printed it on white aluminum, as I said, not to be redundant, with a glossy finish, and this is the result.
Yes, this is the landscape, but it's totally abstracted.
Yes.
Interesting way.
Yes.
Striking. You know, you cannot imagine that was taken from the real scenery that you saw.
Yes.
Yeah. What time was it?
It was late in the evening. I like to shoot late in the evening or early in the morning, not with direct light. And I was just shooting from the boardwalk, and as you can see, you can actually see the rails of the boardwalk, but they've been changed to my liking.
Well, did you clip something that unnecessary, or that's the way it was?
Well, I did crop because I didn't want it just to be 1, 2, 3. I wanted it to have movement, and I hope I accomplished that by having part of this and then just moving, because the lights on the boat, I suppose it was a boat because they were red lights on the ocean. I wanted to have a feeling of movement.
Yeah, definitely. It is it's a very striking image, and people wonder what this is. And so I said, it is a photograph. I mentioned to them. A couple of people asked me, and they wanted to know the technique. But I'm sorry, you're not there to explain. How would you say it's a digital? What do you call this kind of technique? It is a digital print.
It is a digital print. Of course, you know, it could be printed as a C print, it could be printed as anything, but this I decided to do on aluminum, so therefore I just used a JPEG and had it printed on the aluminum, which I find to really, it pops, it gives the color, and I like the way it looked.
Well, using aluminum, you know, as a medium on the background, how did you come to decide to take advantage of aluminum? Did you know something good about the aluminum materials?
Well, I like photos on aluminum, and I've been doing that quite a bit. And sometimes I print on raw aluminum, but on raw aluminum, the lighting has to be exquisite. It has to be really perfect for it to like show. Otherwise, it just becomes dark. So on this one, I decided, since I wanted the colors to really pop as much as possible, that I would print it on white aluminum and put a glossy finish on it.
And also interesting thing about it is the horizontal and then composition lining up. You know, that makes more abstract, what do you call this, you know, attraction too.
Well, since it was at the ocean, I thought it would be best to do it as a panoramic. Yes.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yes.
Yes. So you usually take photograph, and then you carry camera usually, and then whenever you are inspired to take photo, you just shot, or you just go aiming at some views or something.
No, I just have a camera with me all the time, and I always say that my favorite camera is the one that's in my hand when I see the shot.
Spontaneous. But did you find this to be just happened to be, or you knew if you get in that bay, you can see that kind of sun?
No, this was a surprise. I shot a lot. I shot maybe 70 photos that evening.
Really?
And I just went through them, and those that inspired me, I worked with, and others I discarded. But I think I got about 30 that I used out of that shooting session in probably an hour and a half before I lost all light.
Well,
and this was very late in the evening, as you can see. That's why it's so dark. Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, he was a member of the Salon. I don't know how many years ago. He surprised me coming back. He said, "You asked me if I remember." Of course. How could I forget? And then, where have you been? What were you doing then?
Probably working too much.
Working on what?
I was working raising money. to help artists, scientists, and scholars for fellowships with the private foundation. So I felt that was a very good thing for me to do at that point. It kept me close to the arts. Yes. So I never really went away. I just faded for a while.
You are very busy. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's always great to be here.
Always wonderful. Such a positive and lovely person like you. Yes, we have beautiful people in the Salon, but you're one of them.
Well,
so
and likewise with you.
Thank you, really. Great. Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. So next one is Orin Buck, and he has been with us more than 15 years, I think, right? As a volunteer. I never forget how we met each other, but thank God he kept being with us, or we wouldn't let him go. So he is a website manager, website designer, website manager, and he's a painter and drawer and a photographer, video artist, and he has been recording this interview for us. So this is his new product. What's the name of this? Mariana, yes. This is a new video production that he worked on. So, Orin, could you please tell us how did you make this artwork?
This is all using video I shot in New York City. The music is by a friend Ben Miller, who I've done several things with, and I actually recorded the music and I videotaped him performing it. And so the final stage of this work is going to be the two layers of performance of the musician on top of the video. And that was also in New York City. And so the music is his idea. Mariana Trench was his idea, and I'm just trying to do a video for it without going to the Mariana Trench in the Pacific. So this is all sort of a poetic response to the idea of the Mariana Trench being the deepest part of the earth. And so the video, you see things in New York, and you see watery things, and at the end you see, in a poetic kind of way, the deepest point of New York City, just as Mariana Trench is the deepest point of the surface of the earth.
Well, I saw the buildings behind it, so I noticed it's a New York City skyscraper. And what about this one? It's a Central Park on the lake?
Yeah, the one that you see on the surface is the one that you see on the surface, the tree reflection. That's Central Park by the north, the south-east corner.
What about those sparkling things and particles? What are they? Did you manipulate to make it?
Well, it's all just layers in Final Cut Pro, and there's different layer modes like in Photoshop, and so this is using a lot of the difference layers. So you see maybe 3 layers of reflections in water here, and a couple of and then there's the Christmas tree lights from a Christmas tree. And then here there's something going on that's just a scene from New York somewhere. It just flashed in for a second there. So it goes in and out of things throughout the piece.
So the music, of course, you incorporated with Ben Miller, but had nothing to do with visual. You just happen to like the music, so you use his music, or
no? I did the video for his music.
Oh, for his music. That's what you're saying. I see. Okay. So when that happens, he has something to say. He wants you to change a little bit high pitch, or he just accepted.
We tend to agree on what works, so it's compatible with his idea. I mean, he didn't know what I would do, and I don't know if he imagined this, but he likes it. It works.
Now, when you heard music first, and then you interpreted in a way by using video, you sense that, because the title is Marina, you knew the need of going to the water to take it. That's your interpretation of the music?
Well, he did give me some direction, like the first few minutes are more at the surface of the water, and then you're going deeper and deeper till you get to the bottom at the end. So it's a basic progression, and it is about that feeling. What would it be like to go down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench?
It's almost like, and at first we saw the fish.
Yeah, that's more the surface.
That's right. And a carp or goldfish. What are they? Carps? No. It is a.
They're probably carp. They're in a fish tank in Chinatown at a restaurant.
Yes. And so, the bottom of the ocean or bottom of the sea, you start seeing this kind of particle, which seems to be a plastic debris. And then fish are eating, minnows, and then without knowing, they think they are fish or small minnows or something. So they choke to death. That's in danger.
Yeah.
Today we are very much concerned. So that kind of notion you had when you wanted to take video. Did Ben mention about going down deeper and deeper, and did he talk about the environmental aspect?
We both know about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's both on our minds, especially these days more and more. The oceans are turning acid from the carbon from pollution and the plastic. I understand that we've produced enough plastic now to cover the entire Earth with a plastic bag.
It's really what we are doing.
And a lot of it ends up in the ocean.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's a lot in New York too.
That's it. It's really interesting. That's what I wanted to find out. So technically, how did you do it? You take so many videos shot, and then you edit, combine, manipulate, and the time to match with sound. Mm-hmm.
Most of the videos slow down to 1/4, 1/5 the original speed. That's another thing that gives it a little more of that underwater feeling.
Really enjoy visually, and the concept is very wonderful. We are not very much aware of what we are doing to the Earth. About one by one, species are dying, and that was due to our misuse of the materials or overuse of toxic materials. Look at this. Very interesting. Thank you very much, Orin. Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, and Jania Vanderwerff. Welcome to the Bar Center. And she is from Washington State, but she made a special trip to help us for the potluck dinner. Not only that, but she usually visits New York City and we welcome her. And thank you for helping downstairs. Okay, she is a painter, and she can draw. She is a multi-talented artist. And how long you have been a member of the Mass Salon?
I believe I started in 2011.
How would you like to be a member of the Salon?
I love being a member of the Salon. It's very inspiring. I find looking at other people's work gives me a lot of insight to what other artists are currently doing and what their work is about. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it is inspiring, isn't it? Because there are different genders, mediums and sizes, expressions, all different. And then one has its own saying, very strong statement they make too. So what would you like to say about your work? Very interesting, by the way.
Thank you, Yuko. I'd like to say, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to even speak about my work, hang my work.
Yes.
You've been just very gracious about helping artists, and that's very appreciated. This work is 2 pieces of 5 pieces that I did. In 2013, I had a small painting space in Beverly Hills, California. And it was on an upper floor with a balcony. And the balcony below, it was beautiful trees, and it was really nice place. But while I was there, I was contemplating relationships and why some of them feel like the weight of the world, on your shoulders, and others feel lightweight as a feather. And I pondered, why that is, or what could be different if you were to say, take gravity away. What would happen? I didn't know, but I wanted to see what that would look like. So I created these works, spheres and feathers, and I got to see what that would possibly, consider, what it could be considered. I usually distill and contemplate when I do my work, so it was a natural progression for me to answer those questions on canvas. In 2014, a Facebook friend posted a video put out by, I actually wrote down who it was because I didn't want to get it wrong and I didn't want to forget. It's a YouTube video. Brian Cox visits the world's biggest vacuum chamber. It's episode number 4, Human Universe BBC. And on that video, I won't spoil it, but it's very significant how they had the same process and thought and turned it into an experiment. I was thrilled.
Yes, when she sent me email to explain about her concept behind those 2 paintings, I was very startled. Indeed, in a vacuum atmosphere, light weather and then earth or heavy things, when you let it go, it falls down at the same time. It's only the gravity itself makes one heavy one goes down faster than the lighter one, like feathers. So it's amazing that she thought about that puzzlement, and then she found out later through Facebook. Yes, and then this image. Now, tell me what this is.
Well, this would be, if you can see, it's kind of a map of the world. It's like a globe and the feather, and if they're constant, there's nothing negative in the space, there's nothing positive, it's just they're constant. And how that would feel in a relationship, just to have all positivity. That's that one. And then this one is more of the bird, of course, symbolizing the relationship factor again, and how it would feel in your heart if that were constant, if they were both measurable without gravity. And if you can tell, that bird is interested, a little frightened, a little intrigued, so there's some of that mystery going on as well.
It's really remarkable, because who would think about physics trying to express visually? And then that's what puzzled me when I saw your paintings. What's going on here? The bird and then Sophia. And after I received email from her explaining about the concept, oh, that makes sense. And what about this color? It's a very interesting, unique maroon color.
Well, I tend to, my work often, again, I distill, and so for me, emotions are very vibrant, and they would be more a warm color. And so I felt that it couldn't be a fire engine red because that would be too alarming. So I wanted to make them subtle, and I feel like that worked.
It seems you submitted another feather work, which we acquired for the Yuko Nii Foundation, and something about the feather. I have seen that before too. What is this fascination about subject matter?
Well, there is something about the feather. I honestly believe that the world can be a beautiful place, it can be a hard place. And often it's a fast place. And with all those dynamics, I think feathers are important because they give people a soft place to land. No matter what's going on, a feather will still cradle you, it'll comfort you, like a feather pillow or a feather down comforter. It's just a soft place to land.
That's Jania's special concept. I very appreciate that. Would you like to say something?
Just how much I appreciate you, Yuko.
Oh,
you
well,
are
thank
very
you.
special.
Well, you can say it loudly.
Oh, I will say it loudly. I appreciate you so much, Yuko. Your gifts, your talents, the way you nurture us artists, it's unbelievable and unforgettable. Much appreciated.
Thank you very, very much. Well, I hope I can continue to do so, and I should improve myself a little bit too.
Oh, no improvement. Oh my goodness, you're doing great.
Thank you so much.
you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Laura Conliffe.
Yeah. Okay. And Laura has been using mosaic as a medium, but she has done also clay project, and two are very fascinating mediums, and we welcome those artists with different medium. And please tell me, when did you start working with mosaic?
I started with mosaics about 20 years ago, and from Staten Island, originally from Brooklyn, but I live in Staten Island now, and I teach with the Board of Education, and there was a project called Project Arts, and it started about 25 years ago. And when Project Arts started, I started taking classes in art, and that's when I realized I was very interested in it. And about some years ago, when I started with the art, that was the medium I was most interested in. And recently I started working in clay about 5 years ago, and I'm now venturing into the masks.
Which medium do you like most?
I can't even compare them. They're very different. The glass I'm drawn to just because of the color and the texture. And I feel that I've always been drawn to the glass, but I think that the two mediums can work very well together, and that's sort of what I'm exploring right now, is trying to blend the two together and see if I can come up with something new.
Because when you put the grades, you don't know what effect it's going to be or what result. Even though you think you can apply red, turns out to be darker brown or something unexpected. But on the other hand, mosaic is visible from the day one. If you want to put dark red or green, even that one, you have your own freer choice. Do you draw design first?
With some pieces I do. If I'm working with faces, I usually mark off on the board where I want the features of the face to be. If it's a landscape, I don't. This past summer I went to Italy, to Ravenna, and I studied for the whole summer. So I think that any of my works going forward, you're going to see a much different style than what I have been doing previously. So this was my first chance at formal training. So up until this point it was self-taught, and experimenting and reading and trying, anything and everything I could get from friends and talking to different people. But now I've had the opportunity to study, and pieces that I thought that I had done well, a master mosaicist looked at it and said to me, "What a mess, what are you doing?" and explained to me that mosaic really is a language. And once I understood that, I can see a difference in my own work now.
Yeah, it was way back in history in the Middle East and Italy and so on. But you have your own contemporary concept or design. How does your idea come out, or do they come out? Pick up something that you're interested in spontaneously. You are always thinking about designing.
I think that what happens is I'm always thinking about it, and with the glass, it's something that I almost can't get out of my mind, and the better I get at it, the more I think about it. So initially it was struggling to try to understand the technique, what types of glues to use, what types of grouts to use. Now when I see things, I see them in glass. So I see people's paintings and I think about how can I translate that into glass. So for me, it's painting with glass.
Of course. This one, take for instance, it's very abstract, and of course, obviously, we know what they are. And then you place according to the way you design compositions, and you know immediately colors to apply.
Yeah, I know what colors to apply, not based on the piece, but sometimes it's based on myself and what colors I'm feeling at the time, and that sort of, the subject comes from there. And depending on what type of supplies I'm exposed to and what's on the market at any given point. Today, right before I came here, I had just received a whole palette of new glasses, and looking at the glass, I immediately knew which pieces I'll be working on next based on the glass itself.
How long have you been the member?
I think this is my 5th year.
50, something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's about my 5th year.
Always looking forward to seeing your new product. Thank you very much, Ola. Okay.
There we go.
So next artist is Eleanor Goldstein, and she became a member this year. Welcome to be a member.
It's a beautiful venue. It truly is.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's exciting artists.
Yes, we have many different people. 75 artists here.
75 separate voices.
No, 75. You included 75 members exhibiting, and 135 pieces here. So you can see the variation.
It's wonderful.
So you're a painter.
Yes.
You exhibited in the paperwork different kind of
Yes, I
artworks.
did. I print, and I do oils and watercolors. I use whatever technique I'm pulled to because of what I'm trying to work with for the moment.
Now I see this one is a landscape, cityscape.
Yes. It is a combination of both. You're looking down the Hudson River with the city, the Palisades, and the sky coming forward. It's in motion.
I can sense that, by the way, immediately.
Thank you.
Yeah, you really did, in abstract way, beautiful job here.
I love to push the mediums. I use watercolor with the opacity of oil, and oil with the fluidity of watercolor. It depends. It depends on what you want to make happen.
All right, so did you take a look at this scene and you captured, you expressed it when you get home, or?
No, I was actually given a place in a friend's apartment that overlooked this view. Yes. And I went there every day and I sketched and I did watercolors and pencils and photographs, and then I said, okay. And then I did it. Yeah, right there.
Really? So this is a live moment.
Right. Often it isn't. Often it's sketches on site. I've been to Banff just recently in the Canadian Rockies and helicoptered up and sketched on the ridges, and then came back and started painting those. So it depends on where I can go and where I can perch.
Well, I see the spontaneity. That's what artists are very good at capturing, that impression. But this happened to be observing from someone's apartment.
Yes.
Must have been fantastic.
It was amazing.
Yes.
It was amazing. It didn't look like this, but just the sense of air and space and light. Yeah.
You made it a dramatic scene.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's hard not to with that view.
It's always nice to see the new artists' images, and very inspirational to all of us, including myself. So shall I call you landscape artist? Or?
Well, now I'm doing primarily urban. I'm doing bridges and aqueducts and tunnels, and this is a combination of both, but mostly now it's heavy urban.
That's right. We don't call landscape. Landscape is a nature, but this is a nature, but it's the urban or cityscape or urban.
Right. Yeah. It's all of it.
Yes.
I'm greedy.
Yes. Well, artists should be greedy. Yeah. There's no limit to it. You have to soak.
You have to have a hunger.
Yes. And more than 100% soak up. And then you live long that way.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you very much.
You've been most gracious.
Mm-hmm.
Most gracious.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next artist is, I shouldn't say book artist, but I got to know her when we had a book art show. 2012, I guess. Yeah,
11,
right?
12, something
yes,
like
that's
that.
right.
Yes.
And so I am very pleased she submitted to the paperwork show, and you have received award. Congratulations. And continuously she became involved with the WAR Center, became a member of the WAR Salon for the first time. Now her name is Anna Mavromatis.
Very well done.
Okay, you can pronounce that.
My name is Anna Mavromatis, and it's a Greek name, so I totally understand if you cannot get it right. Yes.
Yeah. And so you do book art. Is this what you have started out?
I do. Actually, you got to know me through my book art a few years ago, and you gave me, by accepting my work in that competition, you gave me wings to fly. And since then, I have been involved with, mainly printmaking that is expressed through two-dimensional and three-dimensional objects and works. It has expanded now into fabric also. And last year I had my show in Houston on cyanotypes that were again developed through two-dimensional works that you had here in the previous show. Garments worn by the people in that story that I was presenting, and also artist books. Yes.
If you can tell us about this technique, what did you do to begin with?
Although I'm Greek, and I come from Greece and Europe, Asian influence plays quite a strong role in my works, and this is either because I was drawn since I was a child to the cultures of the Far East, but also since my son got involved in working in Japan and eventually marrying a Japanese girl, that made me want to approach Japan even more. So I started learning a few things like suminagashi and marking making techniques, as well as folding. Now these works are monotypes, they're inks on paper, they're pulled through an etching press. In two different papers, in two different bases. One is the printmaking paper, the background, and then we have these, which is really a washi paper. It's a Japanese paper.
And what did you do? Did you fold them?
I rolled the inks on a matrix, which is a plastic and acrylic, and then with my hands I manipulate them, and I do markings. And depending on how I feel at the moment, each time is different. They can never be duplicated. They go through the press, the impression goes into the paper, so it's a monotype, meaning one. There is no more impressions. But there is some left over, which is called the ghost print. Then I put the washi, and I pull it again through the press, and that's, if you see, is a faded impression of the background. By having now these different weight papers, sometimes the papers, the work that I've done in the printmaking studio, tell me what to do with them. Other times I go with a specific idea. These are results of happenings, of what happened at the printmaking studio, and they turn into these books, assembling them by, the color and the markings tell me what to do, or tell me they need to go together. And that's it.
Just like Japanese screen.
Exactly, yeah.
Sensitivity of
There is some of that.
Yes.
And there is also, because of the three-dimensional quality and space, the story is told in two different ways, in many more ways than just seeing it there. So that's the work that you have right now. And then thank you so much for having me and having my work.
Yes. The paperwork, they call it book art. Book art has become a movement. How many years ago you have initiated?
I have started exactly 5 years ago doing this kind of work. Yeah, and it coincided with the death of my mother. And the first work that I did in book arts and in three-dimensional was dedicated to my mother. And that was very successful. And since then, it's like she's guiding me. And there is always, she has been now, I keep saying she has been in places because these works have been acquired by public foundations and also by private collections. And this is a gift that happened, and maybe these through generations through Mama, and maybe from my son bringing a Japanese girl to
That's something. Really appreciating that very much. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
She lives in Texas, but she made a trip. Not only here, I hope you are going to enjoy New York City. You come back again, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Frank Krasicki. How are you?
Just fine. Nice to see you again.
See you. Okay. So, Frank, how long have you been a member of the Salon?
I think that this is about 7 or 8 years now. It's been quite a while. Yeah.
We've known each other long enough, and then he's been kind. Every time when we need him, he's right there to install. We need tall people like Frank, and I'm so sure, no wonder we can get along well. Okay, so now you're a painter, and do you use oil or acrylic?
I predominantly use acrylic paint. This is an example of a series of paintings I call ready myths. They're based on the idea that in a postmodern world, a painting can come in and not have a narrative associated with it because it has a myth that is a common myth that makes no sense at all in the real world. And so what I do is I challenge the myth when I paint. This one is called Surrender in a Judeo-Christian Nation, and the painting itself is a reaction to what happened in Ferguson in Missouri with police shooting innocent people. And this happens all around the world. The painting started kind of as a takeoff on Dali, the Christian, the Christ figure, and I wanted to disfigure Christ. And then when the shooting happened, I changed the painting to kind of include the idea that when people perform these acts of violence, they're violating the very principles they are trying to uphold.
Well, I'm so glad that you're explaining to me. I know it's a blood, all over, kind of violent, and I saw the Christ as Jesus Christ. Now I can see where you brought the attention in an abstract way. But first, you put the Jesus Christ. You knew what you're going to draw first.
Well, actually, this painting started out to be a play on both Salvador Dali and Olitsky. And so the cross was kind of a pop art background. that I painted when it was unstretched. I paint on a soccer net, and so I just use canvas, and then I do my painting on top of it. When I stretched it, it didn't work because all of the lines kind of distorted. So it became an opportunity to do something else. And then when the Ferguson thing happened, I added the raised hands of surrender, which mimic the Christ figure on the cross. And then I added kind of a hint of an individual. And this could be every man or every woman. And also the associated violence, when you harm somebody, you harm yourself. We're harming the very things that we stand for.
Well, it is a very high moral, I shouldn't say moral, but ethics, and then philosophy and human psychology and social, contemporary social phenomena is all mixed here. And thank God you did not complete the original paintings. You came up later on to make this the result, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting painting, very strong one.
Well, I was trying very hard to. Dali had a tendency to be super realistic in terms of the way he painted, and I wanted to kind of go back to almost the German expressionist idea of how figures are painted, where they carry a lot of emotion. And so, in the face of Christ, you see almost these black eyes, this kind of sense of tragedy and sense of a depth of suffering that is truer to what would have happened, as you know, assuming you followed him in.
That's very interesting interpretation. Well done. How about this one down below, figuratives?
Well, this drawing is an example of a series of drawings that I've been doing for about 10 years now, and I call the technique pomomento. So the pomo is postmodern. The momento is that it's a memory object. So, for example, when Picasso and Braque were doing Cubism, they were trying to show the object from all sides. In my interpretation of that problem space, I'm giving hints of the figure that's being drawn. I draw over it with another, same figure in a different pose. Same figure in a different pose, and over time, from memory, I'm trying to kind of juxtapose all of those together, not to get every side of it, but to kind of reenact the model moving and the model form.
Usually, as far as I know, you work on abstract paintings, but this one, do you work usually figuratives? This is a figurative.
These are figurative. These are live models, and so what I like to do is have very short poses, because my intention is not to draw models or to be representational, but to kind of hint at the idea of a model and hint at the idea of form, because I'm not interested in the form so much as the line, the texture, and then the depth of memory. Each one of these linear kinds of objects hint at something that existed 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, or 2 sessions ago.
There's certainly the movement too, different facets, moved around, and quite interesting. Okay, would you like to say something? Did you say enough?
I want to thank you for the great work you do here and for the opportunity to show.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much for nice words. You always comment such a wonderful way to express what you think about. And that moves me. I really appreciate that. From my point of view, I don't think I do enough, but I appreciate for what I have done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
So the next artist is Cheryl Safren, and she has been with us many, many years, right?
Yes.
Yes. And she is a very unusual artist. She deals with chemicals and also the metal. And you have to explain to us how you make amazing creative mind this person is.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Yeah. How technically you can explain to us? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my work is on metal, and there aren't any art supplies. The tree itself, and by the way, I haven't done landscapes in many years. My first commission was landscapes, but most of my artwork is in scientific research institutions all over the country. So I long to do a landscape because I haven't done one in many years. But this landscape, the tree is made of simple polymers, which I make myself, and everything on here, I use different chemicals. So how I apply the chemicals are...
You can name chemicals.
Well, I told you that it's simple polymers. Now, there are 4 states of matter, and I use 3 of the 4. I don't use plasma. But the way I apply to get the simple colors is I use heat torches. I use 4 different types of gases. Some of the work I do not use any heat. I use liquids. The way I apply the liquids is I use a stylus. I don't use brushes. I use, like when you have shish kebab and you use those thin styluses, from thin to thicker, the wood absorbs the liquid, and I apply and I draw, like these were drawn with using chemicals, some chemicals liquid. And I also, the solids, I use the old-fashioned mortar and pestle, and I, apply the solids. This was when I did the snow, I applied it that way. So some reactions, chemical reactions, are instantaneous. They happen the minute you apply the chemical to the surface, and others may take weeks to get a reaction. So what I do is, unlike I started and was a painter for many years, unlike painting where you do the background first and you layer it and you go more and more toward the foreground, my process is totally different because it's more based on the time, and I'm usually working on more than one thing at a time. So if I'm working on using chemicals that take a long time to show a reaction, I'll be working in another part of my studio, which is a one-car garage, just because that one takes a long time. And then after it does it, then I have to do the next layer, regardless of whether it's in the foreground, middle ground, or background. I have to do it so that chemicals don't interfere with each other. They don't react when I don't want them to react. And so the way I proceed has nothing to do with where it appears so much as what the chemical reaction would be.
I have a question too, because you have to know how long it would take to have a reaction against these materials. Are you very much aware? You are always calculating how long this particular element will melt or change.
So now there's both spontaneous and also, so now for every, I said that I have a lot of commissioned work. So like when I worked at the James L. Stearns Molecular Biotechnology Center, for that job I did 80 test strips. But even though I have all these test strips, it's always a surprise, and things never, chemicals, they're not always exactly predictable. You sometimes have to think on your feet, and if something is going the wrong way, you still have to make it work.
The one we purchased in the Yuko Nii Foundations, and that has been changing. The time that you exhibit, and then now it has changed too, and you are not predicting the change took place. You knew it's going to change, right?
Okay, so now you own 2 of my pieces. One of them will never change because it's sealed, and when I do these for the scientific institutions, they're almost always sealed. But I have something in my living room. It's what I call a living painting, and from 2006 to now, it has grown, and it's now almost 7 inches off of the surface. It has continued to evolve, and when my son comes home to visit, it's his favorite work because it's always different. It's continuing to change because I never sealed it or stopped the chemical reactions. Yeah, so you have one of each.
Yes.
You have one that's continuing and one that is stable.
Okay. So, according to the book, I want you to pick up the magazine. I very appreciate to let me read it. Could you please bring it?
Sure.
Anyhow, what in that magazine it says how the technique was. Yes, you can. Hold it. How she applied technically to her own work, and then you don't particularly design sometimes.
I don't.
You don't particularly design in hand.
Oh, you mean ahead of time? Actually, I do, but even though I do that, like I said, it's not always the way I foresee it in my head. It changes, and sometimes I'm much happier than what was in my head. Not always, but then again, if it doesn't work out, you can give it to a metal place and get your money for scrap metal. So this is part of a triptych. It's the bioscaffolding triptych, and this one is bioscaffolding 3. So this one is in the lobby, which is in the 2nd floor of the building. I did the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor, and I like this triptych.
So how did you create this? This is a copper.
Yes, it is all on copper, and so with this one I did apply heat. Okay, so some of the works I apply heat and some I don't. So, like this one I did not. This is sea foam. Yeah, and this one is interior transport. And this one here is coral reefs. So I don't own any of these anymore. This one is, where is this? Oh, Iowa State. And this is Florida State. They have 10 of my pieces, Florida State.
Yes. But I know you went to Pratt Institute, didn't you?
I did, yeah, a million years ago.
Yes, that's fine. So during that time, what did you study? Painting?
No, I was a graphic design major. And actually, I worked as a commercial artist for 23 years. Mm-hmm.
So what changes you?
Well, my husband got a job in Michigan, and I was freelancing. And you know the way freelancing goes, that sometimes you're busy and sometimes you're not. And I was doing paintings at the time when I wasn't, and I had my very first commission in Michigan, and it was for an industrial company. It's owned by Tyson Industries of Germany, and they had all the machine tooling went on in within a 25-mile radius of my home, and so I did 3 murals. They had an engineering building and a factory, and it was a glass enclosed hallway connecting those two buildings, and my murals were in there, and that was my first commission. It was in Michigan. It was painting. It wasn't.
It was a painting.
They were paintings.
It's a long story.
No, it's not really a long story. It's maybe a silly story. My son, who's a scientist, when he was in 7th grade, he had to do a science project like all kids.
Yes.
And I wanted, I always loved copper. It's the color of my mother's hair. So I said, let's marinate chemicals in different, marinate the copper in different household chemicals.
Yes.
And we made data sheets of the changes day by day, and he totally lost interest. He got an A on that project, but then he moved on.
Yes.
But once I started, I couldn't stop, and I wanted to see what, besides just household chemicals, what the chemicals would do. Now, the Japanese have been using patination for centuries in a traditional manner. But as much as I love that and think it's very, very beautiful, what they do is they take very toxic chemicals and they put the metal, they dip it into a bath, and it changes the whole surface, and sculptors have been doing that from forever.
Like copper.
Yes, and but it's an overall effect. It's like wallpaper. They weren't really producing images. They had like an overall effect. So as a painter, that's bothered me. Yes. I wanted imagery. So it took me like 2 years, but the reason that the American Chemical Society invited me to Puerto Rico and they did these articles on me wasn't because I was using chemistry so much on metals, but was because I figured out how to create different resists for different chemicals, and that's how I was able to make imagery, by stopping chemical reactions from forming in certain places so that I could create imagery. So that took me a long time to figure out.
You have made a long trip to come this far. Yes.
But it's fun.
It's very creative. Thank you so much. Very meaningful. Okay, all right. So Linda Britt, and she became a member of the Art Salon this year, but she participated in Memorial Show in September last year, and ever since then we got to know each other. Yes. So she was a friend of Esther Libby, who passed away, and then legacy of Esther Libby continued to support the War Center. That's what Esther Libby did. So here Linda carrying on the duty, and we love to have her. We really enjoy having her.
Thank you so much. So I've been painting for forever, and these two are my latest. My paintings are painterly. They have to do from my imagination. I take lots and lots of walks, and when I come back to the studio, it all synthesizes in certain things. This is called Winter Woods. I live on Staten Island, and there's tons of woods still, thank goodness, and the sun is just gorgeous shining through them. And when I'm on my way doing here or there, I see the pocket woods and the sun coming through, and it makes this incredible impression on me. This other one was actually from my backyard. I live very close to the Verrazano Bridge, but I was fortunate enough to be in a neighborhood where there are lots of trees. I call it Survivors because the area is getting urbanized very quickly, and if you can see, there's a tree in there that was chopped down, and it really broke my heart, and the trees around it grew and covered it. So I felt great about that. That's the idea. I mean, the trees are the imagery, but my painting's about color and light and movement and gesture and the synthesis of emotions and feelings. And that's about it.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I wanted to hear what she has to say. but I will hear it on
So
the
thank
television.
you very much.
Thank you
for the
so much,
opportunity to
Linda.
talk about my work. I appreciate it.
Oh, I adore the other painting that we
Thank you
purchased.
very
It's
much.
so wonderful.
I'm really
Yes.
glad you love that.
And then Esther Libby is listening to us. Okay?
Thank
we
you
know
so
it.
much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. So it's very difficult to remember your name or pronounce your name. Leokadia, right?
Yes, my name is Leokadia Czermakova, and my artistic name is a little bit different, Leokadia Makarska-Cemak. This is my family name combined to my husband's name, just my family now. And I would like to just have both names because I started like this. So I would like to just continue in both names. I have to explain because I started a long time ago. I am from Europe and I studied in Prague, Czechoslovakia, and I studied in Karlovy Vary, Czechoslovakia, then in Bologna, Italy. After that, I moved with my exhibitions to United States, and I studied also in New York.
When was it?
New York? New York Weissman School of Art. It's Baruch.
How many years ago?
In Europe?
No.
Oh, I graduated in New York in 2009. Yes, so art is my passion for many, many years, and I exhibited my art widely in Europe, in the United States. So I like it, and I do a lot of work. I would like to say that roughly my art I will divide into two streams. Actually, I like figurative work, and I studied a lot of portraits. So this is my main stream, portraits. I painted many important people. Here I have many examples of portraits. I have many commissions of portraits. In New York, when I came into New York in 1997, it was the end of the year. I got a next commission. I painted Mayor Giuliani, and this is Mayor Bloomberg.
Yes.
2009. I painted many senators. For example, everybody knows Senator Schumer.
Yes.
I painted his portrait as well. Has this portrait in Washington, D.C., in his office.
Really?
Yes. So this is the mainstream. I painted many senators from Canada and other senators from United States. Other people like Mother Teresa, portrait of Mother Teresa, John Paul II, and other.
Oh my goodness.
And the second stream, it's about my landscapes. So I travel, and I travel with my large canvases, and I paint portraits of nature. This is like, I'm talking about my landscapes. So mainly I take everything I see, it's around me, I see, and I take this to my heart. And from my heart, I transfer everything into canvas. So again, I take photos. I have many photos while I'm painting, and I also have photos combining my painting with the nature. So it's videos. I have videos as well. And I have commissions from this section as well.
Yes.
And now, just this year, I wanted to exhibit in the Bach Center my figurative art. Actually, this art is also very important for me, the figurative art of women, girls, because I do also illustrations. Actually, I just was working on illustrations. It was a commission. I finished illustrations to the book. It's novel about vampires and love. And this is very beautiful novel, and I did illustrations to this novel. It's Goanus, a love story, written by Clem Richardson again.
do you advertise that you are a portraitor, or how do you go about receiving the commission?
I have my website, and I would like to invite everybody to my website, LMC Fine Arts. Everybody can go to my website through www.makarska-Cemak. The last name is Cermak. So this way, or LMC Fine Arts. And actually, they find me always. Always they call me. Some people call me, and they have some work for me, and it's interesting because. Some people know about me, and always I have something. And now I'm very busy with. I have done illustrations to the children's book. So I have 7 paintings done. I have to produce 7 more. So I'm very busy.
We don't have too many artists in our members. And if we can do commission like you, or even figurative or portrait, so we value you as a very rare artist and a wonderful one.
Oh, thank
Congratulations. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this interview. Thank you.
All right, great.
Thank you.
The next artist is a very unusual artist. I will say to everybody is very unusual anyhow. And so Debra Friedkin. And so would you like to say something about who you are? And also, when did you become the member? You're relatively new too.
Yes, definitely would love to say a few words about the work. Yes, I was in a curated show here a few years ago by invitation, and now I joined about a year ago as a new member, and I'm very proud to have 2 of my pieces in the Salon show. I do sculpture and collage, and I generally incorporate found and repurposed objects in the work. And what I do is I make my figures from, I build them out of clay and plaster, out of little pieces of rock or metal that I find. And then I have a theme, which is generally comments on society. So this one is called The Monkey and the Martyr, where this figure has martyred himself, and it's kind of a comment on religion. And the monkey is looking perplexedly and saying, what's going on here? But yet he knows something special is going on. And the birds are information on the figure. Actually, what the figure is suspended on is a vintage tie rack that I repurposed.
Yeah, where did you find those little things there?
Well, I call myself a garbologist,
yes.
Which is that anywhere and anything can become fodder for my work, whether it's something I find on the street or in a thrift shop, or
without knowing when to use them, but you accumulate. Yeah.
I accumulate them, and then they suddenly speak to me, and then it all kind of comes together.
When did you make this one? Is this for 2016 Salon show you made it, or you have made it already before?
Well, actually, it's a couple of years old, and I just thought it would be a good fit for the show. Yeah. Because I know you appreciate the unusual and avant-garde.
Very unusual one. Now, this one too, another advanced technology here.
Well, right. This is the robot family, which is an example of my other kind of work, which I do is assemblage or assemblage, and this is all found objects. It's called Robot Family, and there's the dad up there, and his 2 children are fitting in the cogs of the wheel. And then the funny part is, or satirical part, is supposed to be that the little girl is holding a human baby instead of the humans holding a little robot toy.
Right.
And then there's a real cat, a real flesh and blood cat.
Baby. Yeah.
Right. So it's meant to be fun. It's the work is humorous, ranging from whimsical to darkly humorous.
Yes. Indeed, it is really, very unusual thing to see something like this. It's a found object, but you know how to put things when the time comes right. And really, it's a timely thing because it's the detritus, you found object.
Detritus, cast off from society, and I give them a new life, and recycling.
Yes, that's right. That is a contemporary phenomenon. It didn't happen today. It's been happening before too.
Right. I like to trace the roots back to Marcel Duchamp with his urinal on the wall, which is that functional objects can be beautiful.
Yes.
And I try and I take junk and turn them into provoking works of art.
Make it alive and has its own existence, the meaning of existence.
Right. Well, that's what this could be, pondering the meaning of existence.
Yes.
That's very true.
There are many ways to read into too.
Yes.
The monkeys and then the birds. What does it mean to represent what symbolically? You can read many ways. You wish.
Right. Well, I think that all artists have their own dictionary of symbols. And a lot of my work is spiritually informed, and I think that birds or doves are very spiritual creatures. And the monkey is meant to represent actually humankind.
Human.
And humankind, and looking at their God.
Look at that face. Look at this.
Yeah.
Where did you find that? Amazing.
Well, the piece actually started with a chunk of metal that I found that comprised the torso, and it looked like a lower jaw.
Really?
And I built the figure upon that, upon the lower jaw, which became like a beard, and the torso.
No.
And I put it, I put him together, and he's got his coat of nails, which is all, very symbolic of, the greatest story ever told.
I thought entire things came together, but you really assembled.
Oh, yeah. And then, it builds upon, it keeps building its story until it's a narrative.
Yes.
And of course, I want people to make their own interpretations of it, as with all art.
This show, everybody, whoever they came to see the show, they are engaging and then looking, not just going through. There's wait a moment, and they really question. Oh, look at that! Look at this.
You know that your art is successful if people come in for a closer look. If I never want people to just walk on by. I want and I want them to be drawn into the work.
That's so
and to say, hey, what's going on there?
Yes, that's what they drag into your work. And when I was sitting here, I noticed sitting there, and then people observe. Engage, two of them.
Yeah,
look
engagement.
Look at this.
That's the ticket, is engagement with the work.
That's right. And then every detail means a lot because you put your thought into it. It's not accidentally.
Yes. And it's, when you're doing assemblage, it's hard to make it work as a whole, and I strive to do that, and I hope that I'm making like I said, a narrative out of the assembled bits.
There's a storytelling too. Very, timely things, Robert, and then timely things again too.
I think religion is always timely and controversial.
Right. And what about that glove? Where did you get them? Gloves and base.
That
fit into right there.
Yeah. Well, I find these things. Like I said, I find them, and they just come together. And a lot of times, if I feel something's missing, I'll send that out to the universe, and I'll find the little piece I need to complete the piece.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to have a place that's so supportive for us artists.
Well, thank you very
so
much.
So welcoming and warmly supportive. So thank you, Yuko.
Deborah. Thank you. So very unusual artists like Debra, and makes the War Center very special place to belong to. So
yes.
I welcome you to be a new member. And of
thank
course,
you so much.
Value that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Yuko.
Okay.
Mwah.